Best thing your fan has done for you.
Um, we shouldn't be talking about. No, I'm just kidding.
And that's it. Thanks for joining, man. Let's fruit chat.
So the very quick questions, like one-liners, basically. So we call it a little rapid fire round. Like if it's rapid,
Yes,
so
right.
This is going in the coffee with current direction now.
So
This is where the music comes, no? For this round, suddenly like text comes in, and like freaking fruits come in, and like
Go on, Sean.
So question one: who in the Indian music scene you would want to collaborate with?
At the moment, I would say Sangeeta Bhattacharya.
Okay.
Nice.
One instrument that you would love to learn?
The piano.
Piano. Okay. One genre that you would like to explore?
Neo soul.
Favorite song that you have released?
Favorite song? I'm sorry, what?
Your favorite release?
My favorite release.
Your favorite.
Your Mind off of Accept.
And your actual favorite song that might not be released by now?
The title of the upcoming EP, and the song is called Change.
Okay. Favorite gig experience?
One of my gigs where I have performed where I've been to.
You've performed.
I've performed.
Also been to. You can answer also in a gig.
You can also that one as well. The next. Yeah.
Backdoors Festival, 2018, in Bangalore, where Anderson .Paak, Watsky, and Wolfenales, all these guys played, and I was part of the lineup. That was absolutely beautiful. The best gig that I have been to was Backdoors Festival, where I got to saw Anderson .Paak. He was just absolutely alien to be doing what he was doing up on stage. At one point he was dancing, at one point he was just playing the drums so well and really vibing with the band, and then the very next moment he is at the edge of the stage on the ramp jumping with the audiences, and right from the beginning till the end it was just spotless. It was so good. So yeah, there we go. Two birds, one stone.
Best thing your fan has done for you?
We shouldn't be talking about. No, I'm just kidding. But the best thing that a fan has done for me, when I released my EP, Accept. I'm sorry, you might be hearing some sounds. Let me disable that. Okay, so when I released my EP, Accept, when I released the first music video, I must say that the biggest number of fans, or the most passionate fans that I have, are from Kerala, because that is where I started really my journey, going out of town and really finding new people who want to listen to my music. And so I have a long history with Kerala. But when I released the EP, fans, quite a few fans, decided to share my video online on different social media platforms, all together at the same time, with a personal message and a set of hashtags, including hashtag Mahesh Army. And they all shared my video when the song was released, which was the most amazing, beautiful thing that anyone can do for me. And they were like, you have to listen to this guy. He released this video. Go listen, go share. And that was really cool. That was one of the coolest things that I've had my fans do for me.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
It was not a one-line answer. I'm sorry, man.
Yeah, it's okay.
We are also not giving you any hamper.
Quickest song ever written by you, and like how much time did it take you?
Fly Away, it was written over 3 hours. Um, the first hour was me being annoyed about a bird chirping outside and not stopping. It was really annoying when I was trying to write a song. So for the first hour, I didn't do anything. I didn't get anywhere. But then that chirping bird gave me an inspiration to write a song, which finished itself 2 hours later, which is called Fly Away. Yeah, that's one of the shortest ones.
Uh, if you could open for one artist that you want, who would that be?
Damien Rice. I could have said John Mayer, but I would be fooling myself, and everyone's gonna laugh. So I'm gonna say Damien Rice. I'm still fooling myself, and there are still people out there who laugh. But
Dude,
Damien Rice, I believe
that
Damien Rice is one of the
that
greatest
guy is
songwriters
love.
alive.
There's a video of that guy on stage. I forgot the name of the song. It's a very famous song. Uh, Cheers, darling. And he's doing that on
Cheers,
stage.
darling.
He called a lady on stage and he had a
Yep.
bottle of wine and he drank the whole
Yep.
wine. He rolled a cigarette on the stage with his
Yep.
hand. Okay, and he's doing the show, a 12-minute videos there.
Yeah.
So sad.
That song.
You feel it.
Yep.
There's something I have to tell you. I have seen him live,
Oh.
basically.
Whoa.
So when he came to India, I did a leg of so far gigs. No, so I saw the
Right.
Delhi one. I was the lucky one to be there, and I even had a conversation with him and everything. And it was super chill. He's a super chill guy, man. I poured him his wine as well. Like, it was crazy. So do you know Hanita Bambi by any chance?
Yes.
Hello. So basically, she was there as well, and she was singing his songs while he was singing as well. So he called up her on the stage, and they did a duet. That was super cool. That was super cool. I mean, he's the.
Yep.
I was like, bro, he's super chill guy. I mean, that
I
was
know.
one beautiful gig. I mean, one of my favorite gigs. So.
Man,
Yeah.
yeah. Jealous of you right now, man. Jealous of Hanita as well. What,
Yeah.
Hanita? But good for you.
Yeah.
Damien is absolutely a special artist. Ed Sheeran became a singer-songwriter because of Damien Rice. After he came back from a Damien Rice gig, is when he decided, oh, I want to write songs and I want to, do this. And he, his music journey started there. And when asked about that, Damien Rice said, I don't take responsibility for the songs and what they do. Once it's out there, it's out there. So he's such a cool person in that sense. He's so grounded to whatever he believes in, and he's not really affected by, what others perceive him to be. And that really teaches me a lot. So if I can get the chance to open for him, man, that would be really, really cool.
One song that you wish was yours, like.
I'm sorry.
One song that you wished was yours.
One Damien Rice song which I wish was mine.
Any artist.
Oh, right. That's a difficult thing to answer, man. Trusty and True by Damien Rice. Edge of Desire by John Mayer. I mean, I'm kidding myself. I wouldn't be able to write such a song. Like, wow. Edge of Desire, such a good song.
That line from Edge of Desire, maybe this mattress will spin on its axis and find me on yours. I mean, like, who could, like, that's such a genius line.
Right. Exactly. And only Mayer can write such cool lines. So, I'll leave. I can maybe include another 20 more songs, but let's stick with Trust True by Damien Rice and Edge of Desire by John Mayer.
Have you seen this? There is this documentary on John Mayer, Someday I Will Fly.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one that a fan made, dude. I recently, so Sid, the third member of my team, introduced me to that documentary. I'm like, dude, it's not just inspiring for music or musicians. It's general inspiring for your life.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. It's an amazing lesson. Then he sent a handwritten letter to that person along with personalized guitar picks. Dude,
right. Yeah, that's a beautiful documentary. And to see him, starting from there and now to be still to be one of the most relevant artists in music today, man, that's so cool. He started my music journey for me. I heard Gravity for the first time, and that's when I decided to, you know, uh, try and write songs.
We had a question on
And
that too.
I'm sorry.
We had a question on that too.
Right. So yeah, I was just saying, yeah, that's to look at his history and where he has come, but also him impacting so many a generation of musicians that have come forward. It's just insane to see a human being, have so much impact. For me, that's amazing. So yeah, John Mayer, he's the deal.
Yeah, I absolutely love that live version of Gravity in live in LA one.
Live in LA,
I mean,
right?
yeah, crazy. Like how is it different from the studio version, and how he improvised on stage is like, man.
Fun fact, my EP release, my launch gig, which happened here in Bangalore, in Jagrati Theatre, was kind of low key based on the Live in LA concert, if not low key ripped, because so it was an evening where I went on stage as a solo artist, sang a song, then have another guitarist with me, and then have another, a piano player with me, like do like a solo set, duo set, trio set, and then with a full band. And I sort of, ripped that off of John Mayer's Live in LA, where,
Yeah,
he did the same thing with,
yeah,
the
they
solo
did the
duo,
same
and
thing.
then with the rock band, and then with the trio. Yeah.
Beautiful. Favorite John Mayer album?
Man, that's difficult. But for very obvious reasons, Continuum is my favorite
Continuum.
John Mayer
Good to see
album,
that.
because Gravity has really changed my life, and that's where it started. But this Continuum on the second place, The Search for Everything, Heavier Things, uh, Born and actually no, I can't. Born and Raised, Battle Studies, they were all such good
Yeah,
albums, man. Paradise Valley, wow, such good stuff.
I think
But
Born and
Continuum,
Raised is very underrated.
it is.
I really
It
believe
really
that.
is.
And he was in a
I absolutely
very,
love that
very
album. Like he explored
very
with acoustic sounds. Yeah,
when he made that album, he
it's a
Right.
was he was going through a very, very, very bad phase in his life, and he isolated himself. It was the time, I think it was 2010 or 11, where he commented something on Twitter about something, and he deleted his account after that, and he went to this
yeah,
remote
yeah, yeah.
Right.
village. He
It
lived
was in
in
the
a remote
documentary as well.
village. Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
He went
Yep.
to a
And he
remote
had
village,
his
isolated himself, and he just wrote the whole.
right, and he also had his vocal cords, have vocal
Yeah,
nodules. So he was on vocal rest for a year. So he decided to just move away to Montana and stay there. And I
Montana.
guess that the inspiration for Born and Raised, I guess, comes from there. Even in the album artwork, the video, you can see a lot of that Montana, sort of
yeah.
wardrobe culture, and the colors, the vibe. So yeah, very interesting.
Even that live video of something like Olivia, like you can see all, his look as well. Like it has all that
Right.
vibe.
Exactly.
Anyway, the rapid fire round is almost it's over. It wasn't rapid
It's
fire
over,
round
right? We have
after a while.
chatted.
So yeah,
This has, I guess, become a new greeting now. Instead of hi, it's like, how is the pandemic treating you? How are you coping up with it?
Yeah, well, I guess everyone's taking it differently. For me, weirdly enough, I went on a break from doing gigs the end of last year. I had not taken like a vacation for about 6 years. I mean, it's not like I've not had a break really, away from work, but work is really like a mindset, because generally with music, when you're doing this like for you to enjoy, you do the same thing, but then when you got to earn money, you got to go back there and do the exact same thing. So it's more of a mindset. So I'd just been doing music and just hustling for years, and I'd never given myself a timeout. So I did so in December last year, and my idea was to spend a few months away, spend a little bit time on teaching and working on my own skills and some music, and come back after a couple of months, maybe April or May, and then do like a tour. But there you go. As soon as March came in, the universe was like, you do exactly what you've been doing since last year. You pretty much do that for the rest of the year. So that's been basically how I've been handling it. Just been at home, a lot more classes, been working on some music. But otherwise, pretty much the same. Ironically enough, I wouldn't have said that in a different situation, but yeah, in this case.
Don't you miss the audience? Every musicians I've talked to in quite some time, they're like, dude, we're missing the audience. We're missing playing live. We also missed our gig on 4th of April. We were supposed to.
Yeah,
I know.
Just missed it. It just went away.
Yeah, it was
I
our
know.
debut Bangalore gig.
Right. It's so crazy. I was also supposed to do like I was really looking forward to the gig with you guys because, again, that was during my break. If you remember, I spoke to you about it.
Yeah.
So that didn't come through. I was really, really disappointed. House concerts are always the best. It's a great experience. I did a tour of house concerts for my EP. So because I really love the intimacy that it provides. And I'm really, really appreciate that you guys are doing this, but I feel for you guys. It's unfortunate that the times are as such.
Yeah, talking about that house concert tour, you did it with Sofa, right? I mean,
Yep.
Sofa don't usually host artists like for a tour. So, I mean, how did you pull that off?
Yeah, that was really interesting. So when I was working on the EP, I knew that I wanted to do something before the release to let people know that there's someone named Mahesh who is a singer-songwriter who exists and writes music. So I didn't really want to, barge into the party and say like, hey, here's my release. Want to check it out? I didn't really want to do that. So I was trying to come up with some sort of an idea to travel different cities in the country and do gigs, and then say, hey, I know you know me now, but there's an EP coming out a couple of months from now, and I would love for you to keep an eye out for that. And I was trying to come up with like a tour, but venues, putting together venues and like a schedule in terms of the logistics and all of that. That was really daunting. And I really wanted to do like a house concert tour, and I knew Pratna, who takes care of Sofa Sounds India. India lead. And I asked her, and she's like, we're up for the idea. I mean, it's a great idea, but I don't know how we can execute that because if the kind of funding that we might need, and we've not done this before, we've not really done like a national tour, Sofa Sounds tour before, and we would have to coordinate with different city leaders, and the biggest thing was the logistics, really. But Harsha Gumagata, who was like the city lead for Bangalore Sofa Sounds back then in 2018, he was really encouraging of the idea, and we started looking for different people who would be interested in funding something like this, like a first time tour across the country for an EP. And then we had Zoompa that came in, who gave us a car filled with fuel for the entire Shillong leg of the tour. And then we traveled to different cities. We had different kinds of people, different human beings who just loved the idea that we were traveling the country playing music, and we were shooting a documentary as well while doing so. And they were kind enough to give us a place to stay, or invite us at their studio for an interview, or all these sort of things. It was absolutely beautiful. It was a collaboration of the artist community on its own for me, because obviously I did not have the resources to pull it together. Neither did So Far Sounds, but we had the right kind of ideas and the right kind of sentiments behind those ideas to convince people to come on board and be part of it, which was really special, especially because it was also like official tour for my EP. So I got really lucky there. I was really fortunate to have had such incredibly talented people, wonderful human beings, willing to help us out and go there and do what you want to do, sort of a thing. So it was really nice.
How was it? How did
I'm
it
sorry,
turn
I'm
out?
rambling a lot. I do that.
How did it turn
That's
out?
pretty cool, man.
How did it turn out? The tour.
It was absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. The first city was Shillong. I had never played So Far Sounds gig there, and we got to meet some of the artists who are local to that place, but now we've become really, really good friends. If you know Loyal, he's now based in Bangalore. I met him in Shillong when I was on the So Far Sounds tour. And, I met all these different artists, Easy Wanderlings, when I went to Pune. And it was an incredibly enlightening experience for me, because I was going to every city and talking to people about, why do you hustle like I do? Why? What's your deal? Sort of a thing. And so everyone has different reasons for it. And it was interesting to listen to all of these perspectives. For me as an artist, because I was touring and I was playing gigs in each one of those cities and making new fans in the middle of this story, with the story as the context, it was an incredible opportunity for me to meet new people, to build a network of like-minded people, and to find lifelong fans of my music, or as they would like to put it, which is extremely rewarding, and you don't really feel as rewarded all the time when you do a job like this, because it involves a lot of sneaking around reality and trying to like optimize yourself and hustle and keep going. But this experience was absolutely one of the most deeply held, deeply special, loving 2-3 weeks of my life. It was just amazing.
Where can we find that documentary that you made during that tour?
So the documentary is still in production, simply because as soon as the tour was done, Shreyas, who's the director, who moved to America to study, and we have been doing this long distance thing of working things out. And Harsha, who's a city lead as well, pretty much left to America shortly afterward. So we've been on this love triangle for the documentary to happen. So I'm going to keep you guys updated on it. It's still in production,
Sure.
but it's something that I'm really excited about, because of the fact that it's sort of captured the history of a lot of musicians from 2018 and what they thought about it. And it'll be interesting in hindsight when this comes out, and how we look at the music scene or the community, and how all these sort of point of views sort of come together in this community. It'll be very interesting to see, but I'll keep you updated on that.
Yeah, sure, man.
Yeah. I also discovered you through a So Far video only. Like, there's a video with the song name is Untitled. I don't know if you've released that song, because I cannot find it anywhere, but I absolutely love that song.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Untitled is a song about making love, and hence it's the reason it's called Untitled is there are certain things that shouldn't be said, shouldn't be labeled. And I did that. I performed that song for So Far Sounds when I went to Delhi for the first time, and the venue was in front of the Qutub Minar, and it was on a very cold winter evening, and it was absolutely beautiful. And so that's a great memory. I think a lot of the Delhi fans that I have may know me from that particular video. Again, while I'm talking about fans, I really don't have a lot. It's a very small little community of people that are kind enough to be engaged with the story that I have, that I speak of or express when I go up on stage. But it's beautiful when you have stories that you can go back to and say, hey, this song is what really started, what made me get to know about you. So that particular song and that video is one of those for me. So thank you
And
for pointing that out. Appreciate it. Glad you like the song.
Yeah. Along with that song, there was an EP also that you released in back in 2013, I guess. I couldn't find that also.
Right.
There's a lot of stuff you cannot find about you out there.
Yep. So I've basically been on this hustle of trying to make this music thing happen, and in the journey, I have made I've made decisions where I have to take a certain project up, not because I can do it the best way that I can, but this is the best that I've got. When I was starting out as a singer-songwriter, the amount of resources that I had as someone from a middle-class family, studying in college, was very small. And my mentor, he's from Glasgow. He told me, work with what you have and make it work. So I've always been on that sort of a train of thought where every single point of the way, I know that it might not be seen in the right light 5 years from now, but it still is a significant part of my history. But I'm glad to know that you're not able to find it. So that'll keep the mystery in there, and hopefully keep my story a little more relevant.
Maybe now you can maybe now you can send it to us secretly, and we'll be like the inside.
Absolutely. Let me do that, and you give me feedback on how bad the songs are.
How long has it been for you in the indie scene?
I've been doing this since I was in PU. That was 8 years.
Punjab University.
No. Pre-university, just 11th and 12th grade. Good old local Kannada.
Dumb right now.
Kannada PU college. No Punjab University for me, son. Yeah, so I've been doing it since I was in PU, which is 11th or 12th grade, which was 2011, 2012, around then. So almost a decade now. So I started doing gigs semi-professionally. Yep. I was doing gigs then, and I used to travel to Kerala and then back. Kerala was one of the first, outside cities, outside places away from Bangalore where I performed, and started sort of having some sort of an identity there. And I was doing that since then, and then I finished my bachelor in engineering somewhere in 2015. And then I worked for a year as a .NET developer while continuing to do music semi-professionally. But then after a year, I couldn't really take it, and I quit. And since then, I've been doing it full time.
Every creative professional, most of the people that I meet and I talk to are engineers, and like dropout engineers, or like they have been doing some coding or some stuff like that, and they just drop out. So the leading question to that in my mind was, we have been doing this, we have been doing Fruit Jam for like 8-9 months now, and we have talked to a lot of indie musicians, and the one constant problem with musicians we find, which like because of which they are not motivated, is they cannot convert this hobby of theirs, music, into a profession because it is not well paid. So are you able to sustain yourself just by music, or are you doing side gigs? And follow up to that would be, since you have been in the scene for like past 10 years, so you must know a lot. So maybe you can give some tips for indie musicians to navigate their way in the scene so that they can turn their hobbies into professions and start earning so that they can make more music.
Right. Sure. It is kind of a yes or no question. Yes and no question, because yes, it is difficult to survive, earn, sustain some form of earning, on a continued basis by simply doing music, particularly independent music, because there is no support structure here. It's just a
Yeah, that's
bunch
true.
of freelancing artists
Yeah.
who are choosing to uh, not do other stuff and decide to work on their skill, and go out there and build some sort of a following that would listen to them and ultimately buy their music, or stream it, or that leading to some other place, some bigger opportunity. That's the sort of mindset with which most independent musicians get into this. And I don't mean it as a mistake, because the, that's the kind of economy that we have in the independent music scene. Yes, it's building. Yes, there is more and more uh, different kinds of organizations, Spotify and Savan, all of them coming on board and really helping us speed up the process. But at the moment, if I were to just do music, particularly gigs, and say I want to make money just to sustain myself, not really make lots of money and be incredibly rich, but just to sustain myself and pay my bills at the end of the month, it would be difficult, because there is an incredibly huge supply. There is not enough demand. um, Writing, making music which is heavily influenced by the West, whether it be America or UK or Europe or whatever that is. When the cultural influence sort of comes from there, you have to account for the fact that not everybody would relate to that here in this country. Um, if you go to Europe, and if you go to London, and if you sit in a cab, and if you ask the cab driver what he would do by to chill out, he would say he would go to the local watering hole and check out a gig. For him, that's normal. You won't hear a cab driver saying that. It's a very niche thing for somebody to go to a venue, pay a certain number of money and listen to music. So trying to make an economy out of such a niche audience is going to be a challenge, and it's going to be almost quite impossible, considering the amount of artists that we have. In my case, the way that I struggled for a large part of my musician career. I chose to sort of jump into the storm so that I can figure out how to get out of it, if you will, because I had a regular paying job. I was good at being a programmer. I loved it. I love technology, and I didn't really have problem with the subject, but and I had a good earning, but I knew that it made me a little too comfortable for me to really put all of this energy and focus on my music. And so I told myself, I will learn to optimize. I will learn to change my lifestyle to accommodate the amount of earning that I will get. I will learn to make decisions where I have to choose between opportunity and money, and that has helped me in my music journey to make better decisions, be responsible, own up for myself, whatever sort of challenge comes my way. But at the same time, gigs are not the only thing that I do. I teach. I'm a vocal coach. I have students across the country, a few on the other side of the world, who choose to learn from me. It's a very tiny little community of people who want to really, look at the voice as an instrument, as a physical instrument, and learn from that point of view. So it's a very interesting space there. So I survive mainly from, especially at this moment, mainly from my classes and from my students choosing to learn from me. And I would advise upcoming musicians and singer songwriters particularly to not um, not close themselves into this thought process where you have to you have to do what you love, and you have to be successful in terms of the money, in terms of the name and all of that with that particular thing. That's where the problem comes in. That becomes a little too unrealistic, and you start banking on your skill and your art so much that you sort of start losing your way in terms of the growth that you have with it, the relationship that you have with it, the bond that you have with music, the curiosity that started it all, if you will. And you sort of get distracted on the pursuit of trying to make it successful. But on the other hand, if you're honest about your art, and if you're sustaining a certain way of living, and you're continuing to do so, people will see you and they will say, hey, this person has been doing this for a while, and he's doing music that is not bad. Let's start from there. And it relates to my life. It speaks to me. And if he shares another song tomorrow, I might want to listen to it. Now, just that change in thought process helps a big deal. It helps in changing the narrative that you have about yourself. You are not this person who is going out there to, grab this thing that you've been craving for all your life, but instead you are someone who is pursuing your art, and you are displaying its value, and people are seeing it for what it is. And that'll help you get the right kind of narrative and right kind of perspective for different kinds of stakeholders, people who book you for gigs, who book you for music festivals, or people who call you for podcasts. So you get a change in perspective that is useful for your journey, because they choose to involve themselves in your story, and that helps you. And I think that story that I'm talking about here is extremely essential, that not a lot of people pay as much attention as they should. I'm not successful in any in any way. If you look at the amount of money that I make, I still struggle to pay my bills. But on the other hand, I still have people who listen to my music, and who appreciate it. I still get work every now and then from, let's say, an odd music director for a vocal session, for so you get things like this that'll help you balance your sustain your way of living. But you have to be an entrepreneur if you want to be a musician. You
That
have to
is
learn to be your own musician, your own manager, your own marketing, PR manager, everything. Your sound engineer, if you have to, your content creator. You have to do all of that, at least if for to learn how to do that, so that you can later at some point you can tell somebody else to do it, but you know exactly how you want it. You have to go through that period of a hustle, at least here in this country. It's not like a place where you can go, like for example in America, you can go to Nashville, and if you're a good singer songwriter, you can pretty likely find a job there, if you make yourself relevant enough, and you can sort of tap into that economy, and they will pay you. Government will put aside money that will come to you. That's
yeah,
not the case here. So
yeah.
we've got to really look at it from a very realistic point of view. I hope that is of any help, the
I think
answer that I
that
gave.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
landscape is also changing a bit, because so attention span of audiences has become so low in this digital
Right,
age. So they're constantly shifting towards it, because everything is out there. Like if you're doing a particular genre, there are 10 different genres out there for the same. So you have
right,
to find your voice. You have to find your that small chota sa niche of audience which just loves you
right.
and they're like loyal to you. So yeah, that is absolutely correct, absolutely insightful.
But having said that, I am going to say the times are changing. It's a
Times are
different
changing.
generation now. The answer that I gave, I guess, could be from the point of view of someone who started out 10 years ago, and who's seen, what 10 years has given him. But right now, it's obviously a lot more people are getting attracted to or being interested in independent music and different kinds of independent art. And so there is this cultural revolution of sorts that could be oncoming from the generation younger to us, where it could be a much bigger opportunity for them if they were to pursue it. I say that because I always think, even if I don't if I don't get to be as successful as I want to be with music, I really want music to, flourish, because I want to hear more people, perform, write songs about their lives, and do it in their own ways. So I always try to keep in mind that, even though it's been a struggle for me, there might be people below us, who, as in terms of the generation gap, in terms of the age, who might have it a little better. And we always need to keep an eye out for incredibly talented artists, who are doing so, who are coming out and trying to express themselves. Because one of the biggest things that I've challenges that I've had is the problem of people holding on to the mentality of 10 years ago or 15 years ago. It happened when I came into the scene, where there were senior musicians, where understandably they were influenced and conditioned by the struggles that they had faced. And I am influenced and conditioned by the struggles that I have faced. And I shouldn't really conform to that when someone else who's younger than me, who's more talented than me, might be coming up, because we want to keep this going. We want to make this a playground which is big enough for everybody to play around in, not just for myself. So we've got to keep an open mind in that sense.
Did you ever take any formal training in music? And do you think that matters?
It's, although it's not necessary for you to, have some sort of a formal training to be a successful musician, it's gonna help you nonetheless to make more informed decisions with your language. There's nothing wrong in learning more about it, and there's nothing wrong in exploring uh, that that understanding further, and see what it gets you, what kind of songs that you can create, what kind of emotions that you can express. You want to stay true to that curiosity that started your music journey. So in that sense, it's useful.
Also, on the other hand, there are people like Brian May. That guy had a degree in a PhD in astrophysics, and
Right.
he was a member of the rock band. He's a member of the Queen. We also had this.
Right.
I think you know Sangeeta Bhattacharya, right?
Yep, I know.
Yeah,
And she's a good friend of mine.
yeah. We had a podcast with her a couple of days back.
Awesome.
She has been to
Such a
Berkeley.
beautiful career.
And she has been to Berkeley. So she was also saying the same thing. It's just a goddamn college. Treat it as a college. Because of that name,
Right.
it's like, okay, this guy has been to Berkeley. Now this guy will become John Mayer or like whatever his own identity, like a world class musician. It's not that. It's just a damn college.
Right.
I think the
Yeah.
point is to just
Yeah. Sorry.
yeah,
Go ahead.
I think the point is just work on your skill and practice, like whatever your instrument is, whether it is voice, guitar, or anything you're doing. I think the point is to just
Right.
work on your skill. Yeah. I think a lot of artists just are trying to impress the musician community when they're making music. Like they are keeping
Hmm.
their audience as musicians. No, not the audience that are actually going to listen to your music and are going to pay for your gigs to come, and they're going to buy your merch, everything. I
Right.
think a lot of artists just make music while keeping in mind, oh, what are the musicians are going to say about me? Are they going to find it like, are they going to vibe to it or not? But I think
Right.
our audience is our audience, and you have to know your audience, to be honest.
Absolutely. And honestly, the bigger audience that you will have, the musician audience that you have for yourself, is just a small part of the audience that will really make or break your career. It's all those people who don't know anything about music, who are too involved in their own lives to give a rat's ass about your music and your understanding about music. And they are simply looking for that song that will make them feel better, that will make them change their perspective on that thing that was bothering them yesterday. And so you've got to account for those people. They're extremely important, and they are the bigger part of your audiences. People who don't know you, who see you as a stranger, but who see you as a stranger who maybe understands you in some way. And it's not necessarily about the music. They might not know that, that you're singing so well in pitch and your range is so big. They might just be hearing powerful sounds going through their ears, and they're thinking about their own lives. And it's important to acknowledge that. As musicians, I feel a lot of us forget about it, because just as you said, we're too busy trying to please other musicians.
I
It's
mean,
all
they don't know if there are two chords in the song or there are like 20 chords in the song. They really don't care. If they're vibing to it, they're
Right.
vibing to it.
Right.
So yeah,
Exactly. Yeah. Again, it's all about like educating yourself about where, what are the kind of audiences that you have, and educating your audiences about what is the kind of music that you do.
musicians. Most of the people that also I see, it's are into that uh, endless loop of, okay, it's COVID, I'm sitting at home, so someone must be expecting
Right.
something out of me, so I have to make music. That the drive is
Right.
wrong. Like they have to. He said very simply, no, don't make it. Make it when it comes to you, when you
Of
want to do.
course.
Don't make it for just for the sake of it. It will never
Right.
turn out right.
Yeah, that's such a good point, because that's something that we noticed as well. As soon as the lockdown started happening, you for the first week, you go online, you will find 10 indie artists who you follow on Instagram live,
Live, yeah, they're
streaming live.
live, yeah.
And for like 1 week, 2 weeks, that was the same thing. You go there and like, yo, it's so crowded in here. And I did like one live stream gig and then another one during my birthday, and then I just stayed out of it, because
Yeah.
sustaining interest is not necessarily the most strategic move that you could make. If you're in front of them all the time, if you're, I'm talking about you as a musician being in front of them, the audience, all the time, then there is nothing that they need to desire from you. There's no craving for them to, for them to go and find it. You become too available for them. It reduces the amount of attention that you can gather when you're releasing a song, or when when you have this gig, if you're doing it all the time. And so that's extremely important to sort of stay back and know that just because you're going to go not do a gig for 3 months doesn't mean that they're going to forget about you. You're still like a person that they knew of.
Yeah.
And if they like your music, then of course they won't forget you. When you come back, it would be an extremely wonderful reintroduction of each other when that happens.
we fell
So
we fell
we
in
need
that
to be
loop.
open to it.
We fell in that loop as well, as like as a brand, Fruit Jam. We were like, okay,
Uh-huh.
things are going live, things are going digital, so let's do these live gigs, let's come up artists. But yeah,
Yeah.
later we also realized it's not that. It's not going to stay that way, because the experience when you get, if a person is sitting in front of you telling the story, okay, this is how I wrote it, this is how I play it, and the feeling that
Right.
you make, it's sort of like reading a book and reading an ebook. It's different.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
like you cannot. It's so
Yeah.
different. Like they can never overcome it. Ebooks can ever
Right.
overcome the physical books. So yeah,
when you started writing music, like I mean, it was a getaway, and when you decided to pursue music as a career, it wasn't just a getaway; it was a way of life. And so, I
Right.
mean, did you find something else like your getaway, like a hobby or anything like that, or it's still
Um.
music? Like,
Yeah. I wish I did have something else to sort of distract me from it. But in hindsight, when I quit, um, I quit having my student loans on my back, my education, my college loan, like debts from my engineering, my Bachelor of Engineering that I did. And when I quit my job, I had to make a really careful decision uh, as to how I'm going to execute it. I could not handle it harshly because the fact that I owe a bank money. So I I saved enough money to last me for a couple of months, and started devising a plan for how I will sustain myself. And the first thing that sort of, became clear to me was the fact that I will not have a lot of time for myself, in the sense that I will be putting a lot of time and effort into this idea called Mahesh, the singer-songwriter. It's just an idea. It's not me. I'm still this person who is supposed to, pay his bills, pay the loans, do all the stuff. But then there was something beyond that that I was sort of, getting into. This idea of this person that is this artist who's gonna release music and whatnot. So when I quit, I really didn't have much time for myself beyond this idea of Mahesh that was being invested on. Like the identity, like how it is perceived, how am I going to handle my social media? Am I releasing some sort of music? How am I going to make money for that? How would I record it? Who are the musicians? Release music videos. So the EP 2018 in 2018, which I released, Accept, took about 2.5 years to put together. It really it wouldn't have taken that long if I had better resources, but that wasn't the case. So in my experience, I was really just working on music. That was my work and that was my play. But I was cool with that. My friends were people fellow musicians that I worked with, or the fellow photographers or videographers. So I learned to shut myself away from this idea of Mahesh and just spend my time just being myself and just spending time with my friends and talking about all the stuff that I want to talk about. And those simple things really were my distraction from work. But then those simple things again sort of feed back into my creative process because I write songs about experiences in my life. So it's an uncanny marriage of who I am perceived to be and who I really am. And I'm really too busy juggling these two things around, uh, trying to figure this out, to have some sort of a hobby. But I do suggest people to have hobbies. It really takes your mind off of things. It can get a
I,
little
I
annoying.
I think that's really helpful. Uh, Moving on to the next question, I was really curious to know, like, how did you pull off your international tour? I mean, that was something like very interesting. Like,
Yes, so there is this musician Viraj Arora. He is absolutely a wonderful human being. He was one of the people who helped make the Sofa Sound Store happen as well back in 2018. He wanted to do something absolutely, he wanted to do something special for his birthday. And he decided to start a crowdfunding campaign for two of his favorite artists,
It's
myself
very
and myself and Cinema of Excess, a
yeah,
beautiful bunch of musicians,
yeah, I've heard
absolutely
them.
beautiful.
I absolutely
And
love them. Yeah,
yep, yeah. So
yeah.
he decided to do a crowdfunding campaign along with Oaf Records, the management that used to manage me back then. And we did the crowdfunding campaign. We reached out to our fans and followers and people who would like for us to do this Southeast Asia tour. And fortunately for us, we've had people who support us who are so generous that we were able to, make a three-country tour happen last year, and over 14 days, and it was just a life-changing experience. I'd never been out of the country, so it was amazing to see cars which are not Indian for the first time, and kind of street food that you get there, and the kind of lifestyle that people have. It was absolutely incredible. It happened because of the fact that we have people like Viraj who are um, so so invested in making sure that the art survives, music survives, and people who keep working on their music, continue to do so, as well as the different fans and followers that we have here for music, not just for my music or for Cinema of Excess, but for music in general, who choose to spend their money to send people somewhere else so that they can perform music to somebody else and then come back and tell them, we did that. It's amazing that we have such people amidst us. And I guess that's how it happened.
That's really
How
amazing. I didn't really see much on that, but sorry, you were saying something, June. Do you have a follow-up question?
I mean, yeah, just follow up. Like, how did you reach out to the venues there? I mean, it's very hard to just reach out to like South in Thailand or something in places. How did you manage or like book the places?
Right. So big props to the management and Pratik, the sound engineer who was with us, because he had traveled there before, and he was very much you know im- he helped us get the contacts together and get different venues and schedule them in such a time frame that we could make it happen. We were traveling, we had enough time to hop cities, hop countries, and then make it happen. It's again like an indie venture. It's again meeting like-minded people, people there in Cambodia or Thailand or Vietnam. The indie scene is much similar to how the indie scene is here, not in the context of the kind of music or any of the most obvious ways in which you look at it, but the kind of mindset that they have. They want to make things happen. They want to see bigger things happen. They want to see artists from outside come to their venues and perform so that their audiences can see them. At the same time, they would love to come down to our country and perform for our audiences. So when such like-minded people come together, and when you're really having when you're hustling for long enough, you will learn the tricks behind the trade, if you will. You learn to find out the resources that you have, where you can get it from, where you can allocate it, and how you can get your goals across the finish line. And even if it was not done in the most ideal manner, when you had to struggle, when you had to have sleepless nights, if you will, finish a gig immediately, leave for the airport and then come, all of that is fine, because it was something of a venture that more than just the musicians were involved in. A lot more people were joining in because they wanted to make it happen, because it's something unique on its own, to have not really a management come in and like a bigger management in each one of these countries come in and help us out. We were really working with the venue owners and musicians and bands, and that's how we were able to make it happen.
It comes to your mind, the melody comes to your mind, you're humming something and everything. It is actually very evident in your tracks as well. Like I've heard a few tracks before, but because of the purpose of this podcast, I've been binging on Mahesh music a lot. So when I binge on it, when I listen to it again, I can feel that there is a certain juice to it, which solely belongs to you. Like if I hear that melody, if I hear that tune again, I can easily recognize, oh, that's like Make Your Move, or that's Let Me Stay from Mahesh. So that is quite evident. So just that, like, you do what you're doing.
Right.
Amazing.
Thank you so much. Generally, that answer would not be looked at in the right light, because it might make it seem like, just write what you feel on the inside. I might make it sound like, that's what I'm saying, but I really am not. As much as the songwriting process is intuitive, because I keep writing over and over and over again, not all the songs come out there. And I've been through that path from start to finish so many times, and I've stumbled that path over and over so many times. This intuitive process has sort of refined itself. So I'm able to make better creative decisions as I'm writing, even though I'm not keeping like a very specific structure or process in mind. Because when people ask me like, how do you write songs? They expect you to have some sort of a step-by-step process that they would love to have as an answer. But when I fail to give them that, they might mistake it for the fact that, oh, I'm just coming coming up with it out of thin air, which is not the case either. It's a balance of being aware of the creative process as it happens, and do it over and over, and make mistakes over and over and over again. Find all the ways in which you shouldn't be writing a song, and then you will stumble onto that one which is decent.
Yeah.
By the way, thank you. I appreciate that for binging my music, Ayush.
Yeah, Shubham, take over.
We're now that part of a little community that you call fans now, like the small community. So we're part of that now.
Sweet. See, don't feel special being part of a small community, exclusive community. You see, that's what it's about.
Also, being accessible is also one thing. So what I have realized, so I'm not a musician, I don't play anything. I do a little bit of, I have learned a little bit of synth, I do that, but I have not been in the scene actively. But since I've been doing this thing, Fruit Jam, for the past 8-9 months, this I've realized that when it's a very different feeling when you go to a concert than you go to an intimate gig, because
Right.
when you sit, because it feels so accessible. It doesn't feel like a person who is not approachable. You're right in there, and I can hear what you're saying even without the mic. So
Right.
that's a different feeling altogether, and I just fell in love with it. That is my main inclination towards going into indie music, indie space, and exploring that space. And it has been a really, really, really interesting ride. Like, there's so much talent out there. We don't even know. There's immense talent.
I think
raw talent.
the artist is most vulnerable when they're performing in an intimate setup, because we're right there. Like, you can look the audience in the eyes and you're like, they're right in front of me. So,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's an experience.
Absolutely.
It's a big experience.
There is a stronger connection. It's as if you are singing about them or to them. There is a stronger sort of connection because of the eye contact that you have with these people. It just makes the whole space feel a little more like a group hug than a venue.
Good way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that is all we had for you. It was an amazing conversation. Really liked it. It's 7:30. We started at 6. We didn't even realize.
John Mayer, he's the deal.